All right, how we doing, people? We'll go over a tutorial here on the tire link monitoring system from Lippert. This is just going to be how to install the dock. Apparently I have an older trailer from like 1972 and it doesn't come prepped. So I thought this was going to be like a 10 or 15 minute job, but here I am, a few trips to Lowe's and Home Depot and something off of Amazon. And I think I'm ready to get started here. I couldn't find a good tutorial on doing the dock on YouTube, so I'm gonna try to film this, help anybody else out. But let me show you what all I had to get before I get started here. All right, so of course you've got the tire link system instructions. It comes with the dock and the docking station there. So I'm gonna be using 14 gauge wire. I picked that up at Lowe's there. Just 20 feet ought to be plenty. 14 gauge ring terminals and butt connectors for connecting the wire easily. We got a 12 gauge ring terminal for connecting to the actual battery. Here's going to be the inline fuse system, the actual fuses, grounding screws, the screws for mounting the docking station, and then just some cleanup for the wiring there. And of course, here's your dock that you're going to be mounting and the system itself. These are the other tools I'm going to need, and I already had all these, so you may need to pick up one of these too. Only strange one here is going to be the wire crimper. So I found that in my drawer somewhere. You may need to pick those up. They're pretty cheap at Lowe's or whatever. Now, with my particular RV here, you're going to have the monitoring things on the tires, and then you're going to actually have the where you're monitoring up front in the cab. So I just measured from the cab to the tires and came up with about 38 feet or so. So we came into a halfway point that ended up right here. So this is where we actually decided we're going to mount the docking station. So it'll be right inside here with the battery. And I'm going to show you a couple of different ways we can do this. Okay, if you want to make this very simple, depending on where you need to mount it, you can just run your wire directly to the battery. So you'll put it on you'll put the fuse in before you do the hot side, and then you can ground it on the battery or anywhere else. And I was gonna initially do that, but I started reading about the battery disconnect here, and I didn't really know what this meant. So I just labeled mine. So in other words, when you've got the battery disconnect in the on position, it's the normal mode with the key in. That's how you'll typically be when you're on shore power or being charged. And then if you're going to go to winterizing, where you're not going to be using it a long time, you can turn it to the off position. You can take the key out. It will not be discharging, so your battery won't die, and the battery is actually disconnected there. So my thinking was, instead of putting it on the battery itself, I'm going to tie it into that thing so I can turn it off when we're not using the trailer. So let me show you how that's actually going to work. All right, so here we are. We are on the back side of the battery disconnect switch. So you got your two terminals, let's see, here and there, okay? So what we're looking at is in the battery, when the key is on, if I go ahead and touch this terminal here, I'm looking at about 12, almost 13. Now it's discharging because I don't have it plugged in, so it's not going to be above 13 or whatever. And then if I touch the top terminal, same thing, same reading. So right now, there's no difference in either one of them, okay? So let me turn it off now. All right, come in here. Okay, so we got it off. Okay, now with it off, I'm going to come over here, touch the bottom terminal. Okay, no change. That's because this one goes right directly to the battery. All right, now if I touch the top one, you're going to notice we don't have the full voltage. That's because I've got the switch turned off, and this is the part It's actually anything connected to this line is going to be disconnected whenever you turn the battery off. So that's where I want to install my tire link monitoring system, because I don't want it to sit over winter and be constantly draining for monitoring the tires, which I don't need to do. So let me show you how I'm going to monitor it or mount it there. All right, so again, here we are in normal usage mode. And if you see, these lights are on over there. So in the normal usage mode, it's got everything going. So I'm gonna turn this off here. Take the key out, and you'll notice the inconsequential stuff just turned off. So like the lights and all. So that's when we're gonna install ours there. So let me go ahead and get these wires prepped. All right, this next part, we're gonna be using our inline fuse, the butt connectors, and then our primary wire here, the red color for positive. We'll get this set up. All right, just switching the angle here for a little better lighting. Now you'll notice this is actually a 12 gauge inline fuse connector here. So you can see the difference in the wire. The 12 gauge over here is a little bit thicker than the 14 gauge that I'm using here, but you want to go ahead and get the 14 gauge butt connector, because it's better to have it fit on the small one and it can still go on the bigger one. Just will be harder to do that vice versa. So let me show you how we're going to do this. Now it says you want 1/4 of an inch stripping here. Looks like this is already set. Let me just measure that real quick and confirm. All right, so we're right on there for this one. It was already pre-cut, so that's nice. And the other one here, I'm just gonna trim it a little bit to get it where it needs to be. All right, we got both sides trimmed to 1/4 of an inch. So now you're just gonna take your butt connector, go ahead and twist these up pretty good. All right, we're gonna pop that in there. And here's where the crimper is going to come in. All right, so we're going to go for the bigger side here. I'll go ahead and put it on the yellow. Okay, got that set. Same thing for the blue side. Pop that all the way in there. And this one you have to hold a little bit. It's not as tight of a fit as the other one. So I'm gonna go blue side on this. Ah, that hurts your hands. At least mine. I must have little dainty girl hands. All right, so if you can see in there, that is crimped on. Both sides pretty good. So we should have a good connection there. Now, obviously, you can just wrap the wires together with some electrical tape if you want, but this seems to be a little bit more professional. At least it looks like it, especially if you line up your crimps right, which I did not. So, all right, so we've got our dock connected to the inline switch on one side. So now we're just going to complete the circuit here on the line, and then we'll get ready to run it. Now, I forgot to tell you, I'm doing all this disconnected from shore power there. So if you would have had that cable plugged in and you checked all of your the battery disconnect, I think it would have still been reading full voltage. So just if yours is doing that, that's probably why. But I don't know a lot about electricity, so don't take my word for it. And also, that's why I disconnected shore power. I think all we're working on is DC power, but I don't know enough to make sure of that fact, and I don't know if I can get shocked or whatever, so just for good measure, I went ahead and disconnected everything. Okay, so back in here, I'm getting ready to mount the docking station up here. So I got the self-drilling screws there that I showed you before, so I'm gonna go ahead and pause while I do that because I can't hold this and drill. Okay, so we got her screwed in there. It's up in the top. Those self-drilling screws went right in the plastic. Seems pretty secure. So we're good to go here. Now, before you start connecting anything up, just remember, don't put a screw or a fuse in there yet. That'll be the last thing we do. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually bring the wire up from there, from the ground and over on the back of the disconnect switch. I'm gonna do that before I connect it here. So let me run that part and I'll show you where we're going here. From the, I'm gonna tie into one of these grounds over here, or I guess I may just drill my own, but it's just gonna go right up in there and it'll connect to the ground. And then the other side, on this particular trailer model, if you come around here into the basement, right around behind there is where we were a while ago on the back side of that disconnect switch. So that's how we access that. So let me get this wire in and we'll go to the next step. All right, I got that wire going through the slot there, as you see. And then I've also got it shooting up through there into the battery compartment. So both of my wires are coming out of there and they're ready to be hooked up here. Now, I said this was 14 gauge wire, which corresponds to the blue mark on your stripper here and crimper. So the blue mark is 2.5. So I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna use the 2.5 setting to strip this. Now, I don't mean to insult anyone's intelligence. I just didn't know anything about all this stuff. I had to do some different tutorials. So in case you've never done it before either, I'm just putting this in here. So bear with me. All right, so I got my 2 pieces of wire stripped, got my butt connectors and the docking station there. So let's go ahead and get them joined. All right, there we go. Very fancy, very fancy. All right, I know that looks super cool, but I did have to use my glove for that crimper. It was hurting my hand again, so just full disclosure here. It's a little embarrassing, I know. All right, so we got everything connected here. So now we got to go on the back side and get the ground and the thing connected to the battery disconnect switch. All right, we're back up under here. You see I got my hot wire coming out there. Now, this part's going to require a 12 gauge ring terminal because the normal 14 gauge one is not going to fit on the terminal there. So I'm going to have to put that one on. So let me do that part real quick. Okay, so we've got the bigger ring terminal put on. So now we're just ready to come in here and hook that baby on up there. Coming straight out of there. And then we're gonna put the bolt back on. So I'll go ahead and tighten that down. Oh yeah, you need a wrench too. Okay, we got that nice and tight on there. Now, when I was looking at this, it had this big piece of tape, so I'm just gonna put that back on. I don't know if that's needed or not, but just leave it like I found it. All right, so that part should be good. We're gonna pop down to the ground now. All right, so okay, again, that ground wire is coming down. I could maybe tie into that one or this one here, but since I already bought this stuff, I don't want to not use it, so I'm gonna go ahead and drill a ground hole and just mount my own there. Okay, all done with that part. So got this down, I drilled a hole and then went to ground it. Now, I could not get the grounding screw to go in there. I don't know if it was just too big or what, but it just was not going in there. Very hard to drill a hole in that. I guess that's, I don't know, some kind of tough metal or steel. But I just used one of the normal self-drilling screws that I mounted the box with. Somebody will have to let me know if that's okay for a grounding wire. I mean, I checked the other ones and all of them seem to be, I thought something with that green color was special, but I guess not, because none of them seem to be. So just like I said, maybe somebody can let me know if that's okay to use that screw or if I need one of these special ones, who knows. But anyway, all right, we should be done with that part. All right, final things, put one of these 15-ounce screws in here. It's gonna be the blue ones in this bag or container. So, and then I went ahead and put those little wire things on there just to neaten it up a little bit, because this part, you know, will be seen a lot more so than behind there and down where the ground was. All right, let's get that screw or the fuse in there. Okay, as you see, we've got the fuse in now. So at this point, we should be able to turn our battery back on and see if this starts working. Actually, I guess we got to put the main thing in there first. Let me do that real quick. Okay. Okay, now here's where it all pays off. And it looks like we've got power. So you hate to get that far in your project and nothing happened. I also got power in there again, so I think we're good. Okay, now if you get all this plugged up and you don't have power or any lights that come on your Linc panel here, what you can do is you can take your multimeter and you can actually test these two knobs there. Let me see if I can get this in there. All right, so you should be reading the same thing as your battery as long as you know your power is good. So that's a good way to test there. All right. Also, if you have a test light circuit tester, what you can do is just test a fuse as well. Okay, it's good there. Test both sides of it. And that's probably more so later on if it stops working or whatever. So just a couple of things to do. I know I didn't list this tool earlier. It's just a circuit tester, or some people call it a fuse light. So good tools to have in your electrical arsenal. All right, I just got the docking station added to my One Control app for TireLinc. So the next part is going into the learn mode and putting the sensors on. Since I'm filming from my phone, I can't really show you that, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. The only part I wasn't quite sure was on these locking nuts. So you put them on first, and then once you put the sensor on, you take this screw and kind of tighten it back on. I guess that locks it, I'm not really sure, but that's what it says it does, and it didn't really show that in the instructions or the video, so that's the only part I was confused about. All right, let me get these added and we'll see if we can get them all monitoring here. All right, I got all those added. Just a couple of things. Make sure you get your lock nuts on, all four of them, before you start going through the process. And also make sure you know where you're standing. I saw that one and I was avoiding that one, but I guess I was right in the middle of that one. So those suckers started eating me up before I realized it. And now I'm pissed off. So I'm gonna go take a shower and kill some ants first. All right, and we're back. I was about to give you boys a show, but my wife came out here and she's like, why do you have all the gasoline next to the RV? And why do you have your lighter? So we had to stop that plan. You know, women. But here's what we got instead. Yeah. The package said 1 teaspoon for Mound, but nah. Bro, we going shock and awe on this. So I hope they die a slow, painful death, because they towed me up, got all up in my back and everything. All right, let's resume. All right, so again, once you get the sensor on, if you put the lock nuts on, you'll just come in here and tighten that down the other way. We're actually loosening it, but it's tightening it to the back of the sensor. I would actually recommend a better wrench if you can get one up in there. So I guess that somehow locks it. Yeah, it seems on there now. So I guess that works. But anyway, that's how that part goes. All right, so we are pretty much done. I thought there'd be a green status light, but doesn't seem to show up. But my phone's still monitoring the sensors. It shows them all. It shows their PSI. So I think we're good. Just not sure about the light there, but other than that, we are good to go here. Now, just a couple other things. Like I said at the beginning of the video, instead of going with the wiring back to the disconnect switch, you could just bring it straight down to your battery here. And these are 3/8 ring terminals. So if you wanted to wire one of them like I did on the disconnect switch, you could just come in here, put that on your batteries there, take the nut off and put it back on. But yeah, you could just bring it down. Simple little project right to the battery. Just make sure you got your inline fuse. That would be pretty easy. Or, you know, if you wanted it even simpler, you could get a battery clip and just put your wire up in there, tighten it down with a crimper or a pair of pliers. You could just clip that on there as well. That'd be, like I said, even easier, but you know, you may hit a bump or something and knock that off. So just however much time you want to devote to this. All right, guys, we are all good to go here and finished up on our tutorial. And thank goodness, because it's freaking hot. The sun's already come out. So I need to take another shower now on top of this. But anyway, again, this is the Linc monitoring system docking station install. So I just want to give a shout out here to Lippert for sucking, because this is the only instructions for the docking station. And I'm a beginner RVer, so I don't know any of this stuff and how to do that. And your video that you had online for your channel, it doesn't go over the battery hookup part, so I didn't know how to do any of that. And you disable comments on it, so you can't even ask questions there. So freaking not happy about that part. But other than that, I mean, now that it's all hooked up and good, it seems fine. It's registering on my phone. I've got the other device I'm going to put up in the cab, so I can monitor on that for alerts and don't have to have the phone going the whole time. But other than that, yeah, if you guys have any questions or whatever, just let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can answer them. I'm not any kind of electricity expert, so we'll see if I can help you out though sometime. So hope this helped, and happy RVing.